What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WWE Network and Show, where I, Graham G.S. Matthews, break down all the original content I watch on the WWE Network and on Peacock. And today we're talking the June 1st, 2024 edition of the SmackDown LowDown. Scott Stanford, Mega Morant in the studio, opening up the episode, replaying the opening segment, Nia Jax's coronation, Chelsea Green and Piper Niven attacking Bayley, setting up the tag team match a little bit later on, which we'll get to a little bit later on. They run down the biggest headlines from the show. There really wasn't a lot of them. I thought it was a good show overall. Talked about it in my full audio review of the show yesterday here on the channel, so be sure to check that out. Cheap plug. So they talk about that. They also replay the Tommaso Ciampa and Austin Theory matchup, with Ciampa beating Theory. We hear from DIY backstage afterward with Byron Saxton, I think. Might have been, I don't think Caleb Braxton was on SmackDown LowDown this week. I'm pretty sure it was entirely Byron Saxton doing the interviews. Or Kathy Kelly. I forget who they have doing the fucking interviews these days. Ciampa says that wins and losses are all that matters. Gargano acknowledges his history with both Theory and Waller, the current WWE Tag Team Champions, dating back to NXT. He hopes beating up Waller will get them closer, or rather just beating Waller in general will get them closer to the tag team titles, but he will enjoy beating up Waller because he just flat out hates Grayson Waller. It was interesting, and I didn't really think about this while I was watching this. And also Ciampa mentions that he likes gold, and then the pyro goes off, and they kind of ad-lib off of that, which was funny. It was Byron, because I remember Byron getting startled when the pyro went off, which was funny. I didn't really think about this while I was watching this interview, but it was interesting that Gargano obviously brought up the history, as you would expect from him, which he should, and I'm glad he did. His history with both Waller and Theory. He said he just flat out hates Grayson Waller after what he did to him in NXT and the blood feud, so to speak, they had in NXT, Waller going to his house and whatever. He said him and Theory have a complicated history, but he doesn't hate him. I mean, he didn't really say this word for word, but it made it sound like he doesn't hate him the same way he hates Waller, which I guess is true, because him and Theory had a mini feud when Gargano came back to the company 2 years ago, but that was really about it. Like, they were buddy-buddy in NXT. So it just kind of got me thinking that maybe they are indeed going in the direction of a babyface Austin Theory. I don't know if that would work. I wouldn't break up him and Waller right now. They just won the tag titles 2 months ago. I would wait a little bit longer, but to plant the seeds now seems strange to me. So just something to keep in mind, I guess, as we go forward. So in the studio, they hype up Gargano versus Waller, one-on-one for next week's show. We hear from Indy Hartwell coming out of the commercial break. She's going to take on Jade Cargill next week after her interaction with Jade and Bianca backstage on the show on Friday night. She says that she was not stirring the pot between Jade and Bianca, and saying she said that she wants to put the Raw Women's Division on notice, and she's looking out for the girls on Raw because, Jade and Bianca injured Candice. Apparently, I don't know if that's legit or not, but they said they injured Candice at King and Queen of the Ring in their tag team title matchup, and she doesn't care if Jade Cargill breaks her own knee, she says, and she leaves to check on Candice. So that was from Indy. I thought that was fine. They previewed Cargill and Indy, like I said, for next week's show. They replay the Kevin Owens and Paul Heyman segment, which was great stuff. They also replay Street Profits losing to the Bloodlines, Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa. That's a fucking tongue twister. Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa. Tonga Loa's in-ring debut on SmackDown. I mean, as Tonga Loa anyway. He was there as Camacho many years ago, and it fucking sucked. His first televised match on WWE TV, and I think almost exactly a decade. I think his last TV match might have been against, I want to say Adam Rose, and that's a deep cut, I know, on that first takeover. The first one was called Arrival, but the second live NXT Live special on the network, I think it was 10 years ago this week. So Scott Stanford says that the Bloodline continues to be dangerous. They question what Tonga Loa being anointed next week means. They replay Andrade beating Apollo Crews. We hear from Legado del Fantasma afterward, and Berto says that Andrade is ungrateful and that they don't need him in their group. Elektra Lopez says that Angel will take care of business next week when he faces off against Apollo Crews, and Escobar says that Andrade will eventually come around, and all things take time. They replay Chelsea Green and Piper Niven beating Bayley and Naomi in tag team action, with Chelsea Green pinning Naomi, not Bayley. Probably, I would assume, setting up Naomi and Green for next week, and then we'll get Niven and Naomi the following week, and then Niven and Bayley at Clash of the Castle, which has been made official, by the way. Scott Stanford calls Niven a one-woman wrecking crew, kind of posing her as a threat to the title, which she's not winning, but I'm glad she's in the spot. I think it's cool, especially going into her native Scotland on that show. That should be sick. They replay the great main event segment with AJ Styles feigning retirement, attacking Cody Rhodes, making Cody Rhodes look dumb in the process. But the execution of the whole segment, I thought, was very, very well done on the whole. Scott Stanford questions if it will be enough to get AJ Styles back to the front of the line. Spoiler alert, it fucking will be. Not because Nick Aldis said so, but because Cody Rhodes will demand that match. Probably a Clash or a Money in the Bank. And they wonder how Cody Rhodes will react. So not a whole lot of analysis on this show from Scott or Megan. They do a decent job. I like them as a team. Not a whole lot of insight on the show. They kind of pose the obvious questions we were already wondering. Not a lot of opinion or analysis on this episode. But it was fine for what it was, hearing from Indy. We heard from Legato. We heard from DIY. Solid stuff all around here. Thank you guys for checking out my review of the show. I appreciate it. Appreciate all the birthday wishes today as well. Enjoying the weekend, so thank you so much for that. Have a great one, guys. Enjoy the rest of the week, and I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.